Hello and welcome to What's Up with Onyx Path, a
Hi.
15-year journey into exciting announcements of the state of our company.
It wasn't even called this at first.
Right. It originally was called What's Up with White Wolf, and then it became What's Up with Onyx Path for,
Yep.
I hope, extremely obvious reasons.
At least
Uh,
10 years ago it was.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Some days I wonder. My name is Eddy Webb. My pronouns are he, him. I am the executive producer at Onyx Path Publishing. I am one of the in-house developers, and I develop a lot of stuff, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point in time during this panel.
No.
Dixie, who
No
are
one
you?
wants to know. Oh, hi. I'm Dixie. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also one of the in-house developers of Onyx Path. If anybody's been tracking this, it's opening ceremonies. I am halfway through the bottle of Sphere Dayquil at this point.
You forgot your new
Chug,
title.
chug.
Sorry. I just
You forgot your new title.
Oh, yeah, and I'm also the editor-in-chief.
There you are.
Yeah. So I handle a lot of the editing and proofing, and sometimes doing the Adobe InCopy stuff, etc., etc. I'm also in charge of Exalted and Chronicles of Darkness, and I do a lot of random little things like make websites off the cuff, because
Like you do.
Because it's fun.
In the middle of meetings.
Yeah, in the middle of meetings. I'm like, here's a thing I made. Yeah, that's me.
And some other guy, I guess.
Some guy wandered in.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing, kids? Well, you
Just where I
playing
play
your
the
games? Hi, I'm Rich Thomas, founder and creative director of Onyx Path Publishing, and I really barely do anything really with the company at this point. I step in on some meetings and chit chat and do these panels. That's about it.
That
Really.
is completely not true. Although Lisa does do a lot more work for you now. She's slowly surpassing you in the company.
Yeah, well, the further and further I slip, the more people have to compensate.
So as this is going to be kind of a loose format, generally we kind of just we covered some of the high level stuff in the opening ceremonies. We'll recap some of that a little bit here, but if you have questions, definitely drop them in the chat and I will try to get to them as I can. Please, if possible, preface with the word question, either in all caps or if you want to use the highlight feature, that works too. I'll try to capture them. But as we're getting started, Rich, what is up with Onyx Path?
Good question, Eddy, and one that we have discussed many times. As Eddy said, he and I have been doing a What's Up panel, first for White Wolf and then for Onyx Path for 15 years, and of course, this is the 10th What's Up with Onyx Path panel. That well, actually, it's not the 10th; it's the 10th year of doing these, because it is our 10th year anniversary. We've been in business for 10 years, which is wow,
an accomplishment.
It is both an immense amount of time and it was incredibly fast.
We also primarily use D10s.
Yeah.
It all works out.
It's all tied together. So in terms of what is up with Onyx Path, we are forging bravely ahead. This year, we have been doing a celebration, which this convention is, of course, a part of. It's our third year of doing the virtual convention. It is the first year we've done it on the 10th anniversary. So 10th anniversary sale is going on right now, which is basically a 50% off. A huge amount of our projects on Drive-Thru RPG, Studio 2, and Indie Press Revolution, IPR. You can find just about any game line and any variation of format that you're interested in. There are PDFs and PODs on Drive-Thru, and physical books, screens, still some dice, I believe, available at IPR and Studio 2. So, also, if you want to order from your local friendly game store, from the local game store, they can talk to the distributors who can talk to Studio 2. So a lot of ways that you can get our stuff, and it is in stores. We have product that is in stores.
It's true.
This came up in a conversation someone was having about how we never put anything in the stores, and it simply is not the case. We've been putting our books in the stores for 5 years now, I believe.
I can tell you for a fact, before I was an in-house person here, we were ordering Onyx Path books from Studio 2 at the comic shop I worked at, the Comic and Game Shop in Connecticut. So,
which would be
Sarge's Comics
before that even.
Yeah.
So Again, we have had a very strange path to get here with
An
with the
Onyx
last,
Path?
an Onyx COVID path, and it has been very weird. So sometimes the when did this thing happen thing kind of throws us for a bit of a pause because time has become weird and strange for all of us.
Mhm.
But that being said, things are moving along quite nicely. This is our year to, again, like I said, celebrate. So every month we have been celebrating a different one of our many, many, many game lines. And there's actually pretty much can break it down into a dozen. So that worked out real well with the whole month
Super
celebration
convenient.
concept. And this month has been and will be a very, very limited game line. That game line is the Crossroads Continent, which is my old D&D thing that we're just putting out little things here and there when we can.
Mhm.
And June is the month for that because we were doing this convention and we wanted to really push that. So 90% off at Drive Through RPG for the PDF of Peoples of the Crossroads Continent. It was the only existing product. Now we have Down in the Hole, which is a introductory adventure for 5th edition of the world's most popular / greatest / fantasy role-playing game. So
Great
I've
job
seen
on
it.
that tagline. Great job.
I have seen that I've seen that way in different places. So I want to try to capture all of that. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Rich has adequately summarized the legally distinct disclaimer we have to make. Yes.
So there's one project that is on sale and one that just made available for sale on Wednesday, and we have been playing it. And I actually have a panel about that with Dixie at 7.
Yeah.
And everybody, you can just glide right over to it when this is over if you want to. Love to hear from everybody. And let's get to the thing. We've been revealing a few things in our various panels, things that we've been working on for a while. Bigger things are in the making, but some of those things are not ready to be talked about, so we're not gonna. But we have put a few things together for everybody. So, do we want to do like a list on that, folks, or do you want me to keep kind of riffing here?
Well, I mean, we can talk them through because, like, I know Dixie probably has more information on at least one of those announcements.
Do I? No.
Segue.
Nothing.
The Exalted one?
No.
Okay, cool.
No,
Thanks,
She
everybody.
refuses to tell. That's it.
Nope, we're done.
Push the button.
No, we have actually two really exciting. Well, we've got a lot of exciting things going on with Exalted right now. So of course, most people probably know we have the Exigence Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign happening. Last time I checked it, which was yesterday, it was still doing really well. Indiegogo obviously is a bit more of a slow burn than some of the other things, just because of the nature of how the pledges work. But it's been absolutely fantastic. I love Exigence. I'm loving the response to them. The other thing that was announced during the Exalted panel last night was that we have been given approval by Paradox to work on Abyssals as our next big splat book after Sidereals. I know some folks have asked, and I've answered it in the other panel, so I'm not going to get too into the weeds here about what that means for Catemians and Liminals, which are kind of splat books, like half splats. There's a fat splat and a half splat. I don't know. I have no idea what to call them. Skinny splats?
People have used that phrase before.
Maybe. But yeah, so we are still figuring out the exact way that we want to do everything. It doesn't mean that we're not doing those projects. It just means that we've been given the go-ahead to do the next big, old school Exalt type, which is really exciting.
You mentioned Sidereals, but you seem to have only called it Sidereals.
Sidereals Charting Fate's Course?
A subtitle.
The actual name of the book?
Nice.
Yeah. And we do have one that I can't say yet for Abyssals because they're usually subject to change until we get closer to the Kickstarter. And then we all, go, are we sure? Yeah? Okay. Pardon me. I do have COVID.
Certainly, we there have been titles where it's like we've changed it even after we've announced it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hold that as long as you can to make sure you're going where you want to go with it.
Mage 20 Victorian Age, looking at you.
Yeah, no, I am Matthew, why are you in here? I thought you couldn't be in this panel because you're running a game. I'm just gonna call Matthew out in the chat right now.
Well, I guess he can run the game and also sit in on the chat.
How can he hear his players and also us?
He's a multitasker.
Get out of here, Matthew. Get out of here.
He's checking on to see if I'll be Matthew Dawkins today, and I'll speak like that.
In retrospect, he realizes that he could have made it to this panel. Okay, cool. So you just didn't want to hang out with us. I see how it is.
You son of a
shirker. You shirker.
Big podcast energy here. Get out of here.
All
Get
right.
out of here. We're gonna put you in the bin. But yeah, no, I am super excited about that, and also about working on Sidereals, which continues to move forward at an astonishing pace, honestly. As a lot of folks know, Eric has moved into more of a lead content person, like Ian does on Trinity, which most of you are probably familiar with. So Eric has moved more into that kind of role for Exalted, where he's making
keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, making a lot of final approvals, making a lot of decisions about the setting, still kind of guiding it firmly through everything. But we've left the development of the books up to a few new folks, including Elliot Freeman is one of our new developers. We also have Chaz Kellner is one of our newer devs working on the Essence Companion right now. And we do have an Essence panel tomorrow morning at 11:30 after the Pathcast Live. So you can hear all the cool Essence stuff there. We can maybe tease some companion stuff, although a lot of it was, announced in the Kickstarter.
From the Kickstarter.
So.
Right.
But
tease it.
But now it's got words written.
It's true. It's true.
From the title.
So yeah, no, I'm super excited about all the Exalted stuff happening right now. And of course, as you all know, I'm a weird gothy abyssal person. So I'm into abyssals. I am super excited about this one. And also, we're really focused on making them distinct and interesting and their own thing in this edition, instead of just, creepy solars. Which is what a lot of that's one of the prior edition criticisms of them that we really don't want to fall back on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to everything that the team does. And much like Sidereals, it's getting to make Yushan into a super cool playable area with a lot of interesting things to do. We are going to try to do the same thing with Abyssals and the Underworld. So the Underworld should be a fully fleshed out play experience once we're done there.
Cool.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Then I'll tackle the next one since I just got out of that panel. On the Trinity Continuum front, we are working on the next tent pole, if you will, the next era in the Trinity Continuum. Something that we've teased and talked about off and on for a while now, but we've decided we're going to go ahead and start moving on it, which is Trinity Continuum Aegis, which is our ancient Greek setting. Ancient time setting. It's not just Greece.
Yeah, Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Right. That Greece, because the Aegis, that's where my head initially went. But no, it's going to be the entire world. It's going to be a world-spanning one. But it's not, as was asked in the panel, it's not going to be Scion because it's set in ancient times. And specifically, it's not quite fantasy. It's still science fiction, but it's in the sense of it's taking their science fiction concepts and then reinterpreting them through ancient eyes. So you could see how someone who looks like a nova might be believed to be a god, or how something that looks like a laser could be reimagined as a beam of light that just disintegrates people.
What was that, Arthur? Was it Arthur C. Clarke who had the quote about?
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's along those lines.
That's how Pugmire works.
Right. No, it's definitely it's not stealing a trick because it's still a very different thing. But I mean, yeah, there's still same kind of root idea of taking one genre but feeding it through another genre's lens. But because this is Trinity, I mean, we've done this a lot before. Like, for example, we do this with Aberrant. Aberrant is not just a superhero thing. It's specifically a science fiction slant on superheroes.
Yeah.
Adventure is a science fiction slant on the pulp genre. Aether is a science fiction slant on Victorian adventure fiction. So this is another step in that chain, but it's still offering some new and distinct things. And we're still very early days. I just told the team, the freelancers in our special freelancer Discord, that they could talk about it now. And so they're all very excited. They can actually talk about it now.
Yeah.
So definitely will be, you'll be hearing bits and pieces of excited chatter over time. But then, of course, as usual, as we get closer to formally like showing off the releases and whatnot, you'll learn a lot more along the way.
Also, as with Abyssals, there is now a channel for it in the Discord. If you're
Yes.
in the Onyx Path Discord, which you should be, it's fun.
I think it's interesting because Aegis is. I think we're capable of going into this and doing the magical science fiction, or just basically mythic, magical, all that sort of stuff. Some more fantasy sort of feeling thing because of the way that we've been playing around with Story Path in its various incarnations for now 5 years. Since I think the very first Story Path stuff started being shown to the public. We of course worked on it for very long before that, almost from the beginning of the company. So we've really watched how it's played, how it's run in the different venues. You've got, of course, we just talked about Trinity Continuum. We also have Scion Second Edition, powered by Story Path, Dystopia Rising Evolution, and they came from the various they came from, and sort of the span of genres that they play with. So we've had some, particularly like Cyclops Cave, which is very much a sort of sorcery film, movie, TV pastiche thing, and seeing how can you do fantasy genre things like that. And we watch and have played with some variations on Story Path and how it's evolving based on those experiences and feedback from so many different people playing so many different games. It's been fantastic in terms of telling us what needs to happen with Story Path.
Absolutely.
And so I think you're going to see some stuff along those lines in the year to come. And particularly, I believe Mr. Dawkins has something he wants to talk about in the They Came From panel tomorrow. Is that?
Yeah. No, in the Pathcast Q&A.
Oh, in the Pathcast.
Pathcast.
Yep. And that should be pretty interesting. I hope for people who want to see us expand Story Path into different genres.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I will say, as you mentioned, They Came From, one thing that's been interesting is that as Matthew's been doing the various They Came From games, it has allowed us to actually see through a comedic film lens, but see like what Story Path can do with like horror and fantasy or whatnot.
Right,
so,
exactly.
It like, oh, the Story Path actually bends really well in that direction. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely some really exciting stuff to talk about. So and also you mentioned that there was a kind of a little bit of talk during the Badana.
We did. Dixie and I were talking to Jack Birkenstock of the Badana Group, who is our charitable sponsor, or we're sponsoring them charitably. Anyway, we're donating 40% of everything that comes in for this convention to the Badana Group. 50% for whoever's playing whatever, or running the games, and then about the remaining 10% to what has to go into making this thing run. Onyx Path isn't getting anything for that. This is part of our celebration. It's our celebration of all of our fan community who have been with us through these 10 years, and so we're just trying to have some fun here with everybody. And when we were talking to Jack, we revealed that for quite some time we've been working with the Badana Group to create a new role-playing game that is written by and grounded in what they do, which is using gaming, specifically in this case tabletop RPGs, for therapeutic uses, for as a tool for their therapeutic treatment. So it's a game. It's a really, really fun role-playing game. But since it was written with their knowledge of how role-playing can be helpful for people, underpinning and under there, if you are a therapist and you read it, you would know where they're coming from, because there's some practice. In fact, he was describing some of the things to Dixie that she hadn't heard, and she was, and she knew immediately that was a particular therapeutic use.
Because I've been in therapy.
A lot of people have, but don't know what the heck the terms are.
True, that's true.
But yeah, so that's going to be happening Probably. I mean, right now, as Jack pointed out, it is still in beta. It's still being heavily play tested, and we're still very interested in publishing it. But we really are going to wait till see what the final thing is and what's the best way to present this to the world at large. Jack had originally thought we might run the Kickstarter for it. I suggested that they should run the Kickstarter
Mhm.
for it, in the idea of building the Badana group up for people to know about it, and then we can cross promote it,
Yeah, exactly.
even and publish it, of course. But
Right. And I'm building up questions, but someone came in that, since we're talking about it now, just stick with it. Asked if branch writers will use StoryPath, and the answer is actually no. They're making a distinctive new system for them.
Very different system.
Yeah, if you go watch our video that we just did earlier,
Mhm.
the VOD, we actually talk a lot about how the game works. It's very cool. It's a very cool dice system. I like it a lot. Very cool card system that goes with it. There's 8 different settings within the setting,
Mhm.
which is awesome. So yeah, no, I'm honestly excited about this because it's one of the few, because they've been developing it and Eddy's been kind of working with them, but it hasn't been developed by us. I haven't seen this yet.
Right.
So this is one of those very few projects that I get to just like see all of a sudden, and it'll be not done, but probably closer to done than when I usually know what things look like.
Mhm.
And that's always fun when that happens because then I get to enjoy it as like a fan as well as
Absolutely.
somebody who's working with it. No word yet on. I mean, if we're publishing it, I might edit it, but I haven't seen any of the working documents, and so that's really, really awesome. Like, aside from knowing Jack and hearing him talk about it, and knowing the Madonna group and their characters, and knowing kind of all their missions, but that's all I know about the game is what I know of Madonna, and then what Jack said in the panel, an hour ago. So yeah, no, I am super looking forward to it, and I don't see why I wouldn't play this game, honestly.
And I mean, like, to kind of tinge on that, my role is really that of a consultant on this project. So like, I'm not designing the game, they're designing the game. I'm not writing the game, they're writing the game. So my role is not to make it an Onyx Path game. My role is to make sure they're making the best game they need to make, bringing our experience as a company and my experience as a designer to make sure that they can avoid some potholes and try to, I could say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? But my role isn't to shove this into what we believe the game needs to be. It's okay, let's take your game, make it the best game it could possibly be, and ask them questions like, have you thought about how this is going to affect the market, and who are the people you're looking for, and letting them answer those questions. I certainly have come up with ideas, and we have many meetings about them, and we've gone around and around and around, and sometimes I've disagreed with their points. But at the end of the day, it's their game. We're just helping them out as partners. So it's definitely a new arrangement, and it's a really exciting project, frankly.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So I think that's all the.
Yeah, I mean, anything else we can probably pop on when we answer questions, I think.
Absolutely. So I'll start going through questions again. Reminder, if you do have a question, if you put it in the chat, preface with the word question so I can see it, because always I'll assume you're asking other people in the chat the question. That helps me to kind of distinguish them.
Yeah. Ask as many as you want. We like questions. That's like what
it
this panel's about.
Just trust us. Otherwise, the 3 of us will find a way to fill the void. Do not worry about that.
I have a cat called the Void.
You do have a cat called the Void.
Are you offering to feed her?
No.
Oh, okay.
But read a question.
No, I'm stuck on this void thing now. Okay, so first question is there any news about the M20 book that was approved for Kickstarter a few months ago? I believe that is a reference to Lore of the Traditions, which funded for $141,843.
Oh, that was good info pulling. How'd you get that so fast?
I was researching it while you were talking about something else.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it was that one because we've had a few books here and there. I don't know.
Right. So I mean, in terms of if you're asking like what status things are at, Rich posts every week on the Monday Meeting blog what things have changed, and then at the end of the month, we then give an update of where every project where it's at.
It was not that book. Update. It was a different book.
Okay. What book?
But the thing still stands. Everything's on the project list.
Right. Did I find the wrong book?
Lord of the Rings was finished, and there was a Monday Meeting note a new book being approved.
I don't.
I have no idea
I
what we're
don't know
talking
of any
about. Oh,
I am
Sorcerer?
I am unaware of any new book. That was Sorcerer was not a Kickstarter book, I don't believe.
No, we have been going back and forth on whether or not to put it up on Kickstarter for a while, so they may have picked up on that.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Mystery solved.
the other question is Onyx Path continuing to pitch new Mage 20 books to Paradox? And we're always pitching stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so for Mage 20 specifically, we really need to get a couple more of these closer to going out before we want to go back and say, okay, it's really their internal schedule that we have to work with on that. And so we have some ideas, but first we have to get through the slog that was created because, and we went into great detail on this in the opening ceremonies, but because our printers were so hammered by the ramifications and repercussions of COVID, we have had a very weird and very different for us schedule shift in order to give these printers these books when they need them so we can get them out, and they're doing them in big batches, and that's very unusual for what we do, and so it kind of has thrown things off. And once we get a little better through that process, we'll have a better idea of what else we can do for particularly Mage 20.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that as we are frankly learning how to exist in this new environment. Again, Rich said we went a great deal in open ceremonies, but the short version is printers did not have paper in December. So that's a scary prospect. We're constantly trying to evolve our process. And one of the things we're trying to do is find that right balance of continuing to make sure that new works are being worked on, but we don't want to have is a log jam of things that all bunch up at one stage and
yet we keep getting them. So it's just, we don't want it, but we keep getting it. So we work
I didn't say we're good at it. So we're
try to get back into it.
Right. Okay. Next question is, given that it's Pride Month, how diverse is Onyx Path's current pool of writers and its hiring policy regarding LGBTQIAP as well as biopic? I recall OPP used to be one of the best in this department back when it started.
I think you meant BIPOC, Black Indigenous people of color.
So it's really, really diverse, and we could do better. We keep trying to get more and more people who have been marginalized to be able to have a place where they can be creative and write and draw and do everything.
Yeah, I will say that
with us.
Yeah, no, I mean there are books out there that are being worked on and that have been worked on whose entire teams are queer. That's not uncommon here. We have quite a lot of queer and trans folks. We could be doing better with people of color, and that's something that we are actively always on the lookout for. But we don't. That is a question that is an opt-in question when we talk to our freelancers, because we don't want to tokenize anybody or make anybody feel othered. So it's always kind of a balancing act of wanting to do better, but not wanting to tokenize folks and making sure that we pull in authentic voices. I would say that Scion's probably the most diverse line, just in terms of that's where we, tried to make sure we got as many people who were from those cultures as possible. But a lot of those writers we hired for Scion, we've gone on to move over to Trinity and Exalted, etc. So it's kind of a weird Scion to other games pipeline, but it's working. It's working really well, and I'm very pleased with everyone that we have. Of course, it's not up to me to say who any of those queer folks, people of color are, but they're out there. There are lots of them.
Right, and that's another part of the balancing act is that there's some folks that we are aware of their identity, but they don't want it more widely known.
Yeah.
So we have to be balanced that as well.
We're not really going to be lauding various people for this for being this or that or the other thing like that. That's not really our place, and it feels like we're trying to score points somewhere.
Yeah,
right.
But we're really not. We want to have enable people who are creative to be creative, and that's the most important thing.
And to Dixie's point, I've certainly seen companies. I'm not going to mention names. Frankly, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I've seen some form of this project was made by an entirely queer team. And I know Dixie at one point in time said, "Oh, hey, this book we made just to make it." I did the math, and turns out that team happened to all be queer.
Yeah,
we just accidentally made an all queer team. I was like, "Oh, that's neat," and we just moved on.
Oh yeah, I made this. We made this book. It turns out that it is 100% queer and 40% trans. all right.
Right.
Like I didn't
And there you go.
I didn't do it on purpose. I just hired good writers. But it definitely happens. Probably more often than some folks realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Uh,
Eddie, was there a sentence at the end of that question that I I, I didn't quite catch?
I recall Onyx Path used to be one of the best in this department back when it started out.
Oh,
I
we're even
honest-
better now.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
way better now.
We continue to try to improve ourselves that way.
Mhm.
Indeed, yeah. Next question is there any news about what's next for Scarred Lands beyond Dead Man's Rust and the Calder's Gazetteer?
Well, keep an eye on the VTT front, because it's obvious it's a pretty easy, logical place for us to put some of the Scarlands material that we've been working on and continue to work on.
Mhm.
So that's something that we have a couple of different teams working in a couple of different venues, to bring that stuff to the place where many people are playing.
Mhm.
5e of the world's most popular, et cetera, et cetera.
And I mean that's a really good point. Like obviously we're interested in all of that in regards to all of our games, but in particular, Dungeons and Dragons has really led the charge on that front. So it makes sense for us that since we have the books that are like Scarlands, like Legend Lore, that are definitely require the rule set of the world's most popular fantasy game, fifth edition of.
Et cetera, et cetera.
I love
Et
how
cetera, et
nobody's
cetera.
actually saying the phrase, right?
I did say it earlier, but it's stuck in
Did
my-
you?
You
Did
know,
you?
it's not printed, so what
Right,
are
it's
we
not
gonna do?
printed. See, we're not advertising it. But the end of the day, so I mean, it makes sense to kind of look at that a little bit. But I know it's something we're also looking at for other areas too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
A couple people have asked about upcoming news. Is there any upcoming news or announcements that are happening for the Chronicles of Darkness?
We always say this in every single panel or every single year at this point, and it's just that's up to Paradox, and it always will be. And that said, I will say that Rose Bailey is coming back in to help on one of the Changeling books because she is fantastic. So we do have some Rose Bailey action, which is exciting.
That's when she got out.
Yeah, I know. But I love Rose so much, and I love working with her.
It's true.
And I'm super excited with all the stuff that's going to be in Kith and Kin, The Hedge, and Tome of the Pentacle. All of which are being worked on by a really awesome team right now. Those did have some setbacks due to all the stuff we talked about in the opening ceremonies. But they are rolling right along now, and I expect that we'll be seeing them sooner rather than later, which is exciting.
And I just want to say that we make reference a lot, especially in the last couple of years, to difficulties people had during the sequestering, during that, whether they were having just trouble working because we were all losing our ability to focus, or they actually came down with COVID. Some severe cases, some like Dixie, getting by with some Dayquil. Hopefully that's all it is, right? We're not going to say specifically this developer had this unless they first go out and say, "Hey, everybody, I had COVID."
Which,
so
you mean
we
like
don't.
I did?
Yeah, like you did at the beginning of every day, I think. I don't know.
I just want people to understand that if I'm suddenly not here, I'm probably taking a nap.
Lunk. But yeah, so if for some reason your particular book has taken a while, you're really wondering what's happening to it, and we're not, we're telling you as much as we possibly can about why things went slow. One of the possible reasons is that someone importantly involved with the project had to get past coming down with COVID. And we're just not going to go, hey, it's all their fault, they got the COVID.
Right.
That's we wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
Especially since some folks have been dealing with as everyone I'm sure is aware of the like long COVID situation where you can be like brain foggy and out of it and stuff for up to like a month or so.
Right.
So we're doing our best. They're doing their best. We're trying to support all of our freelancers through this as best we can. And also a lot of them do have day jobs. And for a lot of folks, this pandemic meant that they had to like stop doing some freelancing and just focus on their day job because that's all they had the bandwidth for.
Right.
Or some people want to take a lot of extra work on because they mostly do freelancing and they were trying to just do that from home. And so it hit everyone so differently. And I know we've been talking about that on the Pathcast and also at these Onyx Path Cons and other things for, 2-3 years now, it seems like. So yeah, we're doing our best.
Yeah, we'd love to stop talking about it, but it just keeps having ramifications.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, I literally have
hopefully
been
we're all going to get over this thing, and it'll be a non-issue in the years to come.
masking and vaxxing and stuff for so long, and now I got it
You got it.
anyway. I got it anyway.
Like, yeah, well.
Right.
I don't want it.
Eddie, what else?
Anyway, more questions. This is more of a processing. Are there any ETAs on the upcoming changing supplements? And I'll actually cover this one real quick.
Yeah.
The standard pop answers, of course, we don't give release dates because there's a lot of things that can go wrong, including all the stuff we just talked about a few seconds ago. So that's one of the reasons why we don't give that. That being said, like Dix just mentioned, Rose is coming on to help out with some of the changing books. So as we're figuring out how to navigate business in this new environment, we are trying to make sure that we're getting things continuing to move forward. So there is forward progress on all the changing supplements. It's just that we're trying to get everything moving ahead. So we don't have an ETA, but things are moving ahead.
Yeah, but they're exciting and they're going to be real good.
And it is Eddie pointed out, we do publish every month the progress report, so you can see where something is.
Next question is, I wanted to back the Exigence Indiegogo by getting a normal book. I'm assuming a offset printing book, but I didn't see any. Is there any plan to make this possible? And I think there is a way to do that on the Exigence.
What?
No. The way that we do it for the Exalted books, the way that we've done it since the beginning for Exalted books, is that we run the Kickstarter to fund the deluxe version. And then if you buy the PDF, you can also get a coupon for the POD, which is the version that isn't deluxe, the version that just has a character on it as opposed to the leatherette. So that's how like Exalted specifically works, since their deluxes are super deluxe as opposed to being like, just a little shinier. So that's something that we've been doing since the core and will probably continue to do. So if you want the version that has a character on the front to match whatever you have for Dragon-Blooded, Lunars, the core, etc., then you just wait and use your POD coupon when that comes into POD and back at the PDF level. Yeah.
And currently, while we would like to put all of our things together and say, the PODs will be available at the same time that backers have gotten their deluxes and things like that, the nature of what's been going on with shipping and printing for the deluxes or for standard, traditionally printed things has meant that we would be waiting for, 6 months to a year for the process to go through. And that really didn't seem very fair for everybody who's excited about it. So we put the print on demand books on with the PDFs when they're ready.
Yep.
Next question is, do we feel like we would rather set a new game in a pre-existing story path line like Scion or Trinity, or are you open to creating new story path lines?
Both.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the
sum total of the question, are we open to starting new story path lines? You're going to find out about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Sooner than you think?
Yeah, I think that we're open to new stuff, but we're also very happy. Like, there are pitches that come in sometimes, much like happened with Anima, that it worked great in Trinity, And so we set things where they should be set.
Right.
We look at a thing, and if it's Trinity shaped, we put it in Trinity, and if it's Scion shaped, we can put it in Scion, and if it's not shaped like any of those, but we like it, then maybe it could be its own story path thing. And that's just kind of how we operate. So,
and as we expand the genres that we're involved with, there's going to be more possibilities there.
Yeah.
Sure. For example, a game about making fun of bad movies wasn't really going to fit in Trinity. So I mean, although probably could have done that. If
they
tried,
came from the Continuum.
There you go.
Don't get Ian started.
There's a question about what's going to be, two questions, but I kind of lump them together. What is Tome of the Pentacle about, and will there be new artifacts in it?
Oh gosh, I saw that, and so I opened the outline because I'm smart.
On Dayquil, your brain is popping.
This book is about helping storytellers run games with casts of dozens or hundreds of storyteller characters about globetrotting chronicles, crossover movements and factions, and the detailed history of the setting. So it's presenting a look at the Pentacle as a functioning alliance, and emphasizing the ways in which the 2 sects and 5 orders work together rather than the details of them individually. So it's about the actual overarching organization of the Pentacle. So it's for big overarching games. As far as artifacts go, I'm not sure. But it does have quite a few things in it, including some lost orders. It's all subject to change in development, but this is what I have from the outline. They have more stuff for Dual Arcane, more factions. They have a whole chapter about running the Pentacle and Awakened Society. They have a bunch of NPC mages, like a generator section. And
So it sounds like more about the people than about the stuff.
And then I do believe there's a setting chapter as well, which is like Awakened New York was what it originally was. That's what I think it still is.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be like a cool setting situation in there for your Mage Chronicle. So that's what's in there. Like I said, it's for running a bigger game that's more interwoven than factional. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Since I have you here, does Kith and Kin also have new seemings?
Kith and Kin has so much cool stuff in it. I can't tell you how much cool stuff is in Kith and Kin because I freaking love it.
That's all anybody needs to know.
No, I'm going to
There's
tell
just so
them.
much cool stuff.
I'm going to
So
tell
much.
them.
I know you're stalling to read through.
I am starting to read through. I do believe it is well, not just. It's Kiths and Play Advice and some Motley Oaths and a crap ton of regalia, which is cool. It does have new regalia. It has a section on designing kits. It has a section on pledgecraft. It has extensive new contracts. And I am super excited about it. All the new kits are amazing. If you go look at the games I played with Tom Muir a while back on a couple different channels, I played one of the new kits called the Spiegel build, which is the creepiest mirror darkling energy I've ever been able to have. She was super fun. I bring her back anytime. I freaking love her. So yeah, no, we have debuted a few new ones. We also had a few new ones in another game a while back. Because I keep just doling out kits to people who want to run Changeling, and being like, here, preview this one. It's new. Here, take this guy. So if you poke around at like Vorpal Tales and Onyx Path and everything, you'll probably find a few new ones. We've also done a preview on the blog, and that one is probably the closest to being on its way, but we'll see where we're at after a little bit because things change all the time. And as we said in the opening ceremonies, there's been a lot of like, hurry up and wait, or this has to go now, and we have to change our plans. But yeah, no, I am super excited about these books, and I love Changeling. Everyone knows I love Changeling. I love Changeling so much. It's one of my favorites. I mean, it does help that it's the green one, but you know.
Right. Exactly. That's the only reason.
And of course, also we have a ton of core books that just went to printing because people are asking about Chronicle stuff. So we've got, Vigil. We have Mummy Go. We have Deviant. We have all these cool books. Lots of books happening, and I'm excited about all of them. Yeah, no. Hunter's gonna be.
Are you excited about the hedge?
I am excited about the hedge. The hedge is what it says on the tin. The hedge is about the hedge and all the creepy ass things that happen in the hedge.
So someone's asking about details in the hedge, and I think we now have those.
Well, I didn't download that outline right now. I can find it.
Well, while you're doing that, I have a question about any more animal types that might be covered in the Pugmire line. And Squeaks in the Deep just released, and that has rules for mice and rats, specifically psychic mice and rats. So rather than casting spells, they use psychic powers because use the powers of the mind. And then as part of the Kickstarter stretch goals, we are having a Squeaks and Deep companion, and that will be covering hares and rabbits. So those are playable characters, as well as adding more setting bits for people who want to discover rabbits and hares as part of their adventures. So those are the animal types that are coming now. And as far as future books, I have nothing to announce yet, but we are working on future books. There's a rumor going around for a while that like Squeaks was the last book. And I'm like, well, no, there's obviously one more because of Squeaks and Deep Companion. But no, as of last week, I turned over a manuscript over to Rich. So there are more books being made.
So the hedge, I've got it open.
There you go.
There's a journey chapter on storytelling the hedge, how to make the journey as important as the destination. The hedge is not just a commute for changelings. People live there, and goblin civilization goes on without visitors. Then we have our survival guide. We have some hedge tourism, because unlike Arcadia, the hedge isn't entirely at the whims of the of Will who shape it. Some things are a little bit reliable, which is cool. There's hedge spinning, seasons in the hedge. There's a section called Topiary, which is storyteller advice for building set pieces in there. So trods, hollows, places in the thorn, goblin market stuff, etc. And then we also have some destination things, where we'll have the Hall of Mirrors, which is the mirror realm. It's been mentioned in a ton of CFD books overall. It's the place where Vascu hunters appear if they use Hall of Mirrors, etc. So this is very, very cool. We're going to actually explore that place. And then we're going to have a goblin market setting. And then I know there's some other destinations that, if I recall correctly, were given to the writers as a quote-unquote playground. So there's going to be some weird, fun, changeling stuff in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
The question is, what are the plans for the future of Onyx Path Con?
As Matthew said in the chat already, we're going to be running things tomorrow as well. That's the future.
If you mean big picture, like, are we going for a
Next
fourth one next year?
yeah.
Oh, let's get through this one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're having a good time, but we have no idea.
What is 2023 even? Does it really exist?
Yeah. No, we'll talk about that as we do for all of our convention plans. I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying having the chance to talk to a lot of our international fans and things as well in here, which is one of my favorite things about
absolutely.
Virtual Con, and the fact that it's the only convention I can attend while I actively have COVID without being an asshole. So that's cool. But yeah, so I like it, but who knows if we're going to keep doing this exact thing, or if we're going to do multiple smaller events throughout the year, merge some with some in-person events once things start getting a little bit back to normal. We don't know. We will let you know as soon as we do know.
Absolutely.
When we know, you know.
We've had a couple of questions about, hey, someone mentioned this book is a cool idea for Chronicles of Darkness, like Fallen Worlds, some of that Innocent Second Edition. I'm just going to lump those together and
big umbrella.
Yeah, in the sense of, we talked before about, we have pitched stuff. It is up to Paradox to decide to approve those. So we're not hiding books from you. We're not like, we're saying, no, we actually are making books. We're just not announcing them yet. It's like, we're pitching stuff, but
we don't have cool things that we're not working on because we hate the line, we hate you, we hate the characters. None of that.
We love this.
We cannot publish books we do not get approved. That's all there is to it.
Right.
And that's the nature of the license of doing a license. So not on us, kids.
Right. I understand that. And I mean, I understand that sometimes there was times where, books were mentioned that, hey, this is a book we're making, and it turns out that was something we were pitching. We thought we were going to make it, and it turns out it's not been approved yet. So I get it. I understand people are concerned and upset, but that's just reality. Is we'll let you know when we let you know.
Yep.
So I'm just going to I'm just put all together in a box. And there we go.
And just so y'all know too, the Chronicles panel tonight, that's for them to be hyped about their projects. I'm not going to be in that panel, so it's not the place to ask any of these questions, because the folks who are in that panel have no control over what books we make. Right.
Exactly. Next question is, someone asked if we could have a God preview on October 11th because it's their birthday.
Aw. Well, happy birthday in advance.
October 11th.
Was it?
That's 4 months from now.
Was it God that Matthew was talking about bringing out a few more previews for?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Again, one of the things that we've seen over the years when we've been working with people is, some developers will like to preview things, get feedback. Others rather would bring the whole thing together, get it into the right tone. Rather than showing a little bit of something, they'd rather wait until we get into, say, a Kickstarter scenario or something like that, and give people a chance to look at it in context. And so it's really up to the people involved. We don't mandate you must give a preview of this thing or anything like that. We want people our creators to be comfortable with the process.
Yep.
Right. And like, for example, at one point we were doing open development, right, where we were putting documents up, people comment on them, and they really loved that. downside is a lot of our designers did not love that because, frankly, I was the receiving end of some of those, and there were some pretty abusive assholes. And so basically, unfortunately, that we had to change that process. But we found
that is
a new
one of
way
the
doing it.
aspects to it. The other is if you get a brainstorm after you've revealed this information and now you need to change this stuff.
Right.
There are people who feel cheated because they saw it, we showed it to them, and now it's not in the book. And
Right. That was the other side is that, turns out this thing
it's
works
understandable.
better.
But
Or the license holder realized they didn't want that material in. There are lots of reasons why that. I mean, we are, and then of course, past couple of years, like Rich said, the mental energy to like try to be excited online about the things sometimes is challenging.
We're doing our best.
We're gonna try to get back to doing some more stuff like that. But I mean, it's probably not going to be the way we did it back in the day, because one of the things that Rich has always been very proud of is that we are not a static company. We're always evolving and changing and growing. Look, we learn things as things change.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we did 10 years ago may not necessarily make sense today. Some things did 10 years ago, it's like, okay, maybe we should go look back at trying to do that again.
Or 5 years ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
I mean, always try to be better.
Right. So we're always reassessing our plans. And sometimes we go a new direction. Turns out that was not a great direction. So yeah, we do want to get more information out there. You just need to find the right path for everything.
The right path?
The Onyx Path.
Pew, 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 pew.
We need the music right now.
Party horns.
No, that's your music.
Nah.
That's not the company music.
Elaine just asked if the manuscript previews were going to continue happening with Kickstarter. I think that we've set that precedent at this point.
Right.
We're probably, I don't see us stopping that for any reason. That would
No,
be
I
weird.
mean, even the Indiegogo, even though they don't really have that feature, we've still done a version of that for the Indiegogo. So, I mean, frankly, we've just learned over the past years, one of the things we've learned is that, I was about to say, is that we don't do the open development anymore. Now we've moved that into those previews. It's a different way of getting that same feedback. Now we also have the feedback forums. It allows things to flow much more smoothly. It's a much easier way to parse the information. And also it gets something moderately playable into people's hands they can actually use, as opposed to just snippets.
The other really good thing about the feedback forums and the errata forums is that nobody ever has to read anything mean except me. Because I go through them and I excise all the mean if there's mean. Don't be mean in the errata forums, people.
Because your comment will not be listened to. And to be fair, to be fair, we just said we were very adaptable and we would change things if we found a better way to do it. So that's true.
Mm-hmm.
At some point we may find that the manuscript reveals during the course of a Kickstarter isn't what we want to do. Maybe for a specific project, maybe across the board, but for now, that's what we do, and we're really happy with it. So things could change, but we don't see it happen.
Okay, we've got about 7 minutes left, just so y'all know.
Right.
And we have a few more questions. So
we do have more questions. Question is, are there any genres that have been unexplored or relatively unexplored that Onyx Path plans to explore in the future with new projects? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could probably think of a couple of them.
Yeah, there might be. Has there been any discussion on IPs with an SRD besides the Wizard open game license for the most popular fantasy game and 5th edition thereof?
Excellently said. Yeah, there's been discussion.
Oh, okay. Matthew is asking, who is Rich's favorite in-house developer? The answer is none, because there are no more in-house developers. We're all different titles.
I mean, we're all in-house developers.
Oh, you outwitted him.
Thing, right?
You synced when he's act. Beautifully
Boom.
done. You might be my favorite for having frustrated Matthew.
And then a question about any desire to eventually own the rights to the lines that we license from, and
I'm assuming that's from Paradox.
Yeah.
We love the work that we do. We love the lines. Obviously, part of the joy of working on these things is that we're huge fans of the things. Many of our creators started as rabid fans of the particular things that they're now working on. We have seen no indication that the lovely people in Sweden would like to sell any of these lines.
Right. So I think that's it. We're out of questions and we're about 5 minutes left. So is there any last thoughts that any of us have about the 10th anniversary or of what is up with Onyx Path?
Well, can you say that so that Matthew could give his thoughts, because that's take about 5 minutes.
Oh, geez, no. God, no.
Right about Matthew, get him out there.
Matthew, if you have thoughts, please put them in the chat so I can ignore them. Thank you.
Oh no.
Oh, here's to the next 10, says Matthew.
He ignored us. I don't think it's fair that we can't ignore him.
I just want to say, of course, we like to. This is how we have traditionally ended this, and I want to stress it again because it is our 10th anniversary, and we really would not have been able to spend 10 years making the work that we've made and the fun that we've had without everybody who's watching this, everybody who will be watching this, everyone who won't watch this but will find out about it somewhere on social media, anything of that nature. Our community is fantastic.
Mhm.
It's what keeps us going. It is what enabled us to make all of these amazing projects. It enables us to grow, evolve, and like I say, in the year to come, the downtime we had through the COVID madness and everything like that has enabled us to put several things into play that are not yet revealed, but we will be getting to in the next year. So can't do that without all of your support, and we love you for it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, this has been such a weird time for the tabletop industry, having to pivot to full digital, considering that our hobby generally is done in person, and our conventions and our networking are generally done in person. It's been an interesting couple of years for this specifically, because it's like, when everything first started, and I said before, and I'll say it again, all of us were like, oh, we'll be fine. We already work from home, right?
We work from home.
Like,
It'll be the same thing.
It's not going to be exact. It's not the same thing. It's not at all. And
It's so much worse.
I haven't seen my friends in so long. Like, all my coworkers are my friends. I like my coworkers. And it's so weird to me that I haven't seen Eddy since, early 2020 in person. And Rich, and like, I'm just like, I just want to see people and hang out again.
If anybody's seen the new season of the Kids in the Hall, the one they just did for this year, as they are all in the 60-year-old zone, and has seen Dave Foley's amazing guy playing a record in the bomb shelter, that's what it felt like for a lot of it. Just staring into the middle distance in between the record, which is the happy part for him and the thing he has to do, and those were our projects at that middle distance.
Yeah.
But now the blast doors are open, and hopefully we move forward into a lot more fun.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that all of y'all who are watching, anybody who watches on VOD who wants to catch up with us, like, I hope to see all of y'all at conventions at some point. I know we've got a few people going to Tabletop Scotland later this year.
Yep.
Matthew and a crew of some of our best European friends.
Yeah. So you can see some. They came from writers and
also Burke.
there.
And also Burke.
Yeah, Burke. It's
Speaking
got Burke.
of Matthew, I do have a response from Matthew, which I will read.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna do the accent?
No.
Okay.
It's of course
Matthew.
No.
Oh, blimey.
No, stop it.
It's of course a very important anniversary, and we're all incredibly proud of our games, our teams, our community. We genuinely enjoy the work we do and interacting with you, the fans. Your input is essential to our work going so well and feeling so rewarding. Eddy, Dixie, you have to edit this.
I do. It's bad.
Keep providing that feedback, keep reviewing our games, keep playing them. We wouldn't do this if you weren't here to support us. The Onyx Path community is the best one in the TTRPG world.
Yo.
Man, that guy should be a writer.
Matthew.
Should, except for the typos. And when to build on all of that, I've been seeing a lot of thank yous in the chat, which are genuinely appreciated. I mean, it's nice to see that people are loving what we do. That really means a lot. But in particular, I'm seeing a lot of people who are thankful of our transparency, and it's hard work to be transparent. Honestly, there's a lot of things we dance around things. Sometimes we skirt the edges a little bit, but we always do try to be as open and honest with y'all as we can. So trust me, when we say we can't talk about something, it's always because like we wish we could. It would be so much easier if we could.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of reasons, not only restrictive reasons, sometimes there's strategic reasons why we have to, like example, we want to save up announcements for the convention, so we have some cool moments. I mean, so sometimes we don't talk about things so we can do these cool things. Sometimes we announce things because we want to make a specific motion, specific impact when it hits. But we do otherwise try very hard to tell you guys how it is, and sometimes it's not always good, but we do try to tell you how it's going. So I'm glad that is appreciated, because there are certainly times we're just like head and hands going, now what are we going to do? So it's cool to see that is respected and appreciated. So
what do you mean the printer can't take our books for printing for another 4 months?
Right.
Which has never happened to me in 40 years.
Yeah, but now we need to have this one ready in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes, which is again nothing we've never had to do in a long time.
That's unusual. No, and I mean, also, like, when we aren't saying things, it is one of those things too where, like, we are still a business. We love hanging out with our folks. We love talking. We love all this stuff. But, like, we're still a company. We still have to do company decisions sometimes. Okay, last thing, and I am going to end the stream.
Yes.
Quick recap of the announced games before we go. So, Branch Riders.
TC Aegis.
TC Aegis, Abyssals.
Branch. What was the other one? Oh yes, to be announced. Yes.
And
Matthew's going to say something in the Pathcast tomorrow.
Right,
yep.
Yes.
Pathcast live.
Right.
So everybody bring your Nintendo Switches so we can play Mario Kart.
Yes, and so I mean, obviously, if you missed the Pathcast Q&A, it will be on the Pathcast. Hence the name.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. This will be an upcoming Pathcast episode. So if you want to be shouted out in an upcoming Pathcast episode, show up to that panel
Indeed.
tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yes.
This is tomorrow's
Dixie's
schedule.
sheet.
And Dixie will totally be there.
I hope so.
And Dixie and I will be on a panel at 7 o'clock.
Sunday is my busiest day.
The old Crossroads continent.
Yep.
And
then,
how much fun it is now.
8:30, I will be talking about the realms of Pugmire.
Me too. I'm gonna be on every panel on this channel for the next few hours.
Awesome. You can leak the whole thing about the Monkey Planet.
Monkey Planet.
Rich.
What?
So with that, can you take us out and not spoil any more projects? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for attending this panel. We have been Onyx Path, and
But we're not anymore.
yes, in fact, 10 years, many worlds, one path, one Monkey Planet.
Oh God.